relationships with other countries around the world. So let me now, with great pleasure, introduce the first of our three panel speakers. Dr. Dar, Amit Dar, is an economist. He is Director of Strategy and Operations for Human Development Practice in the World Bank Group, and his most recent assignment was being Director of Education Global Practice. Amit, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll still call you Dr. Twig. And thank you all for being here today. I am actually going to make a little bit PowerPoint presentation on what we call the Human Capital Project, and I think the introduction Mr. Twig gave is very, very relevant because, and I was delighted to hear that throughout the day, the theme that seems to be running in this discussion is about investing in people. And so, as you can see at the bottom of our slide, the Human Capital Project is all about investing in people. Basically, what is this Human Capital Project all about? What is it trying to do? And what it's trying to do is trying to accelerate more and better investments in people globally. We really think that this is the time where we all, as citizens of the world, and you all as very important parliamentarians who are basically defining policies in your countries, are really sort of paramount to putting people first. And so this is what the objective of the project is. It contains three aspects. The first one is the Human Capital Index that you were just talking about. Then there is a whole measurement and research agenda. And then there is a country engagement agenda. And I'll go through each of them quickly so that you can understand what are the types of things that we're trying to do. So the first thing was the index. And the index basically is talking about how much human capital a child born today can expect to acquire by age 18, given the risk to poor health and poor education that prevail in the country where she lives. So that's kind of how we are defining it. And so it's trying to look at the productivity of the future workforce. And it contains three main elements. One is survival. Will a child born today survive to age 5? The second one is schooling, not just in terms of the amount of years of schooling or amount of time the child has access to schooling, but also how much they're learning, because I think that's being the sort of the crux of the matter and the big challenge most countries are facing right now. And then on health, will they leave school in good health, ready for future learning and future work? So that's kind of how we are trying to define this index that we're talking about. And mathematically, what it is a combination of survival, which is 0 to 5 survival. The main contribution, which is very new, is this quality-adjusted years of schooling and the contribution of quality-adjusted years of schooling to productivity of future workers. So we've basically tried to quantify and come up with a measure which takes in both the years of schooling as well as the learning achievements and pull it together into one numeric value on the contribution of quality-adjusted years of schooling, we call it. And then on health, we look at two indicators. One is the adult survival rate, if you are over 15 to 60, and then the stunting rate of kids and what their contribution is to the productivity of future workers. And mathematically, we come up with this human capital index, which, as I said, was talking about productivity of a future worker. The index is between 0 and 1. So one is basically if you are fully productive, and basically that means you have perfect health, and in terms of you have 14 years of schooling and do the best you can on an international assessment. So no country in the world is at 1. Even the best countries are still a little bit of a distance away from 1. But there are countries all the way down to 0.30 in an index, which means that basically 70%, they are foregoing 70% of a productivity of the child when they grow up into the workforce. And you can imagine what that does to GDP and future growth and poverty reduction in that particular country. So that's kind of the crux of where the index is and how it's measured. And I'm just showing you, it's embargoed till this Thursday, when Thursday 9 a.m. we will be releasing the numbers. But basically, this is the spread across countries. On the y-axis, you have the human capital index, and on the x-axis, you have the log GDP per capita. And so some countries are actually doing better than their GDP per capita would lead you to suggest, but a lot of countries are actually doing far worse than the GDP per capita you would expect them to do. And obviously, we want all countries actually to be sort of clustered around close to one, but you can see there's huge dispersion around the world on that. So that's kind of what it is looking like, and we will be releasing the numbers for each country on Thursday. So that was the first part of the Human Capital Index, and it's very closely, and we've been working very closely with the United Nations because they have their Human Development Index, but also trying to make sure that it is closely correlated to the Sustainable Development Goals. And you can see the various SDGs are very significant or very important to our index. The second part is our measurement and research agenda, and here what we're talking about is basically trying to provide policymakers such as yourselves with more information on how to invest in human capital, and basically to create the demand for human capital investments. And so, this index as it is right now focuses on the productivity of future workers. What we haven't looked at, because we don't have that data available for a large range of countries, is the stock of the workforce. Right. Someone who is already working, and what kind of productivity would they have, and that is not measured as yet just because of lack of data. And so one of the things that we are trying to do as we move forward into future versions of the index over the next few years is build up this research and measurement agenda, which will allow us to expand this index to cover not just the flow, but also the stock of the workforce. And basically provide policymakers now with real-time information on things that are working, that are not working, and which will allow them to make the decisions that they need to make in order to develop or change policies or develop policies and invest in programs. So that's going to be part of what the measurement and research agenda is going to be all about. And then the third aspect of this whole thing is something we call country engagement. And basically, we started discussing this over the last few months, and we thought going into Bali, it may be useful that if we have 5 or 6 countries who kind of sign up on the human capital project, and we help them work with them and help them develop plans for quick acceleration of human capital indicators. What happened was when we started talking to countries, we got tremendous expressions of interest. So all within the last 3 months, we've got now 28 countries who've already started working with us. And you will see over the next few days, they've developed first cuts of their visions and plans, which are really amazing. A lot of the countries are represented in this room about things that they need to, that the challenges that the countries face, the types of things they need to do, and how they will actually accelerate progress to achieving on human capital indicators. So that's kind of what we are doing, and we will continue working with these 28 countries after Bali to support actually the implementation of the plans. But also already over the last couple of days that we've been in Bali, we have other countries who've expressed interest. So what Jim Kim, our president, is hoping for is that this basically, once the index is released, this whole project goes global, and and we have every country in the world signing up to become a human capital project country. And these are the lists of 28 countries from all regions around the world, coming from fragile and conflict settings to high-income countries who've signed up to be members, to be sort of a part of this project. Basically, very quickly, we are helping them or rather they're developing plans on how to leverage resources, how to align policies with results-focused investments, address these measurement and analytical gaps. and basically 2 or 3 things. And in fact, it'd be great to get this august body's thoughts on that. How do we actually sustain these efforts across political cycles, across changes in government? That's very important. How do we have something called a whole of government approach, where we are not siloed into this is what education needs to do, this is what health needs to do, this is what XYZ needs to do, but think collaboratively on how do we solve the problem of stunting, which would require education, health, social protection, energy, water, all of them coming together and working as one to actually solve that thematic issue. And I think just to get your ideas and thoughts and advice on how we can actually push in that direction and how government should be pushing in that direction would be extremely important. And so I know we are out of time, so I'm just going to stop here, but that's kind of that's kind of where we stand right now.
Amit, thank you very much indeed. That's great. Moving to our second panelist speaker, Andrew Berg. Andrew is Deputy Director for the Institute of Capacity Development in the IMF, and he has been with the IMF since 1993. Andrew.
Thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here. So the IMF has 3 core activities. We all know about the role of a firefighter, essentially, when countries are in jeopardy and need acute assistance. We also play the role of doctor, you might say, when we conduct our annual health checkup of every member country's economy. And then what's less well known is that we're also a coach. And capacity development for us is that coaching. We support countries in building institutions and capacity to formulate and implement economic policy. Let me expand a little on the firefighting metaphor, if I could. In the United States and some other countries, I'm told, that the frequency and severity of actual fires has fallen dramatically over the last few decades. And you know, when you think about fire departments, you think about fire trucks and firemen with their hoses. That hasn't changed. That hasn't gotten better, as I understand it. What's gotten better is the regulatory environment, the sprinkler systems, and all those sorts of behind-the-scenes work that's actually also done by fire departments. That means that there are fewer fires, and when they happen, they're less severe and easier to deal with. For us, capacity development is that less glamorous, but perhaps ultimately more important activity of making the rest of what we do less necessary. Let me put it that way. So we provide capacity development to all, technical assistance and training to all member countries. We work with officials, mid-career officials, in our core areas of expertise. So the topics range from, general macroeconomics, like helping countries put together macroeconomic frameworks, to financial sector and policy. Where we help central banks formulate monetary policy or regulate and supervise financial systems. In fiscal policy, we help with revenue mobilization, public financial management, and many other things. We do a lot of work helping countries improve their statistics so they have the information they need to carry out policy. We do quite a bit of work with some work anyway in legal area, anti-money laundering, and central bank laws and many other things. So we provide this based experts who travel, and also through a global network of 16 regional training centers and TA centers. In Asia, for example, we have 5 capacity development or CD centers in Singapore, China, New Delhi, Bangkok, and Fiji, serving the Pacific Islands. Besides classroom training and more focused technical assistance, we've been recently building up our online training. If you go to the IMF website, you'll see, I think it's about 9 courses now, and these are more or less the equivalent, each one is the equivalent of a 2-week full-time, face-to-face course that are freely available at different times throughout the year. The most recent one is on public financial management, for example. You know, we heard in the introduction about primary, secondary, and tertiary education. Of course, we don't do any of that. We're in mid-career. We're part of lifelong learning. I think if you think about the way technology is changing the workplace and the way, in particular, the way workers' attachments to firms may be changing, lifelong learning seems to become increasingly important and also maybe harder to deliver. And so we consider this a part of that, at least for officials. So let me just give a few examples to give the flavor of some of the things we do. In Cambodia, which has had very rapid economic development and a very young population, we've noticed very strong demand for all sorts of general economic and technical training at key agencies we deal with, such as the Finance Ministry and the National Bank. The average age is 24, and there's a need for a whole new cadre of staff. We've been providing technical assistance and hands-on training to this generation of young economists who are now playing The person who helped me put together these speaking points was a graduate of one of these, some of this training. In the Cambodia, Laos, Myanmar, and Vietnam region, countries are becoming more and more open to trade and financial flows. They have to come to terms with the volatile external environment. We've been supporting countries in addressing topics such as how to manage exchange rate, how much foreign reserves to hold, and how to make the best use of capital inflows, building on cross-country experience in the region. China, becoming obviously an increasingly complex economy, and policymakers are demanding more rigorous technical analyses. Recently we provided training on advanced methods in macroeconomic forecasting tailored to China for staff from a variety of ministries there. In many countries in the region, such as Indonesia, the Philippines, and Thailand, we've helped those countries establish financial stability frameworks. We've helped many countries. I could single out Mongolia in revenue mobilization, helping them efficiently raise their own revenues in a sustainable and hopefully equitable way. And I guess in this group, I'll just conclude by mentioning that we provide capacity development to parliamentarians from time to time. Last year, we held 2 peer-to-peer events with members of parliament in Asia, one in Laos and one in Singapore, where the programs focused on macroeconomic policymaking and the risks facing. In fact, I'm going to stop here. I look forward to the discussion, maybe building some of my own human capital by hearing what you have to say.
Andrew, thank you very much indeed. That's fantastic. Thank you. Moving swiftly to our third speaker, Vjosa Osmani is an elected member of the National Parliament of the Republic of Kosovo and is chair of its Foreign Affairs Committee. Delighted to welcome you to the stage.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be in this panel. Well, a lot was said by the previous speakers, so hopefully I will not take too much of the time to leave some space for questions. Let me begin by saying that I come from a very small country, but with a huge human capital. The is quite a capital. Unfortunately, because of the very high rate of unemployment, some people see it as a burden. But we need to find the best ways and look at best practices, how we can use this capital as a comparative advantage to the other countries in the continent where we're situated. So from a parliamentarian's point of view, these are some of the reasons why I see investing in human capital, investing in our people, extremely important. Well, first, let me say that it's important both for the World Bank and the IMF to understand that even when talking about investing in the people, different countries have different needs, yes. Both because of cultural issues, because of what countries have been through, And the reason being all of the reforms that would be undertaken, the cooperation with you, but mostly because we've seen the difference that the Doing Business report has had in our country, from a country that was at the bottom of the list, where we have become the biggest reformer in Europe in the 2017 Doing Business report, and that has had a huge impact in the development of the country. And we're hoping that by being included in the Human Capital Index, that this would have the same influence, but by kind of pushing countries in our region into a very healthy competition on who does better. Third, let me say that I agree that investment in education and in quality health are key to this component. When it comes to education, I was looking at the factors that are taken into account, and it also strikes me how important it is, also being a mother of two very young children, to start working with our people from early childhood. This is where inequality begins.
Absolutely.
This is where our daughters are being told that they cannot do the same jobs as men. And this is where we are losing half of our human capital. It starts there. So we need to make sure that investments is in early childhood, is in the kindergarten, is at daycare, and then it continues with primary school as well as pre-university education. I would definitely agree that lifelong learning is extremely important, especially now that we were talking all day long about automation versus innovation. So if we're going to, if we all see that innovation is providing most of the jobs, especially in a small country like mine, then we definitely need to turn to vocational training, high skill training, and skill matching in order to make sure that the people in our countries are prepared for these kind of jobs, as well as more investment in STEM and more investment in small businesses, because what I've seen in our region, that it's mostly the small businesses that are providing the jobs for the young people and for women. And most of the jobs, most of the businesses that are actually owned by women are the small businesses. When talking about health, I think it's important to understand that for certain countries, investing in physical health is important, but so is investing in mental health. And that is especially true not just for having a good workforce that is also productive.
Absolutely.
But at the same time, because we have countries that have gone through so much. And for example, my country about 20 years ago was in a war, and 20,000 women were raped because rape was used as a tool of war. So it's been 20 years, I do understand, but those women continue to need mental health support in order to be ready to be productive for their jobs. So we need to take that into account because, as I said earlier in our discussions, we have a very high inactivity rate among women, which is then, of course, not only hurting them, but it's hurting the development of the country from an economic point of view. The sixth point is fighting informal economy. That is especially important because we can see so many cases of violation of labor rights where people work with no contracts. And this is, again, mostly affecting women, but it's having a very negative impact to the economies of the country. A couple of other points before I say maybe 1 minute or so save for the role of the parliaments. I think that we need to make sure that when building the Human Capital Index, and we pick the countries that are used as, among the 28, and you rightly pointed out that some are growing economies, some are still battling with poverties. Also keep in mind that maybe we should include in this pilot group countries that have a high percentage of young people living there, because that's the next generation that we're talking about. Of course, turning back to the role of parliaments, I think there is plenty we can do. I'm in the opposition right now, but that doesn't stop me raising my voice in all of the issues that we're covering. First, of course, and foremost, is the budget that we adopt. In Kosovo, we've been really active in doing both gender budgeting as well as youth budgeting. It's not like the government always listens to us, but it has become quite an important issue that we're raising. The second thing that parliaments can do is increase their role in international cooperation and increase of donors. And we've been doing that together with USAID, the World Bank offices, as well as the European Union. For the very first time, they've included investing in human capital in their top 3 development goals for Kosovo. And also for the very first time, did the European Union include education, especially early childhood education, as one of the sustainable development goals that they have for Kosovo. So that was really important for us. They didn't want to put education. They said, oh, it's just country by country. It's not an EU thing. But finally, they understood how important it is for the development of the country. We need to continue to keep the governments accountable, which is the role of the parliament, because only if there's political will to sustain investment in human capital do we achieve anything, because it's not enough for only one government to have goals to invest in people. We need to make sure that if the next government, no matter if it's left or right or center or left or center right, have the same sustainable aims in order to invest in human capital. And finally, I think it's also important to point out how fighting corruption can help building a good human capital, because it not only creates a professional workforce, because it creates an ethical workforce.
Brilliant. Look, Vyosha, thank you very much indeed for that. We've got a very short period of time before we're joined by the Minister of Finance, and we've got some big themes here about lifelong learning, about long-term sustainability, and about how we get a whole-of-government approach. Can I see indications of people who'd like to ask any questions? And I'll take them in the order. So I saw you first. Yes, thank you. Nice and brief, please, or we won't have time for answers.
My question is to Mr. Amit Dar. The idea of linking sectorial programs together among countries, does it mean harmonization of definitions, or at least by clusters? And considering that so far most countries, even ministries, have their own way of reporting, how easy would it be?
Brilliant. Morocco. Thank you.
Just question to Amit Dar about the question of the efficiency of spending. Is that a training, or is that an indicator that you calculate in relation to countries? And also you're measuring productivity of the future productivity of the workforce. Is there any way also of measuring like the well-being of that kind of productivity, the happiness kind of?
Great question. East Birmingham question?
Just 2 quick points. Are there plans to begin developing internationally comparable statistics on government spending linked to the index? Because what I think we could really do with is advice on, frankly, which countries are developing approaches that give you the biggest bang for the buck. That informs the debate that we have about choices of strategy inside a parliament. Second, I just want to really endorse this point about mental health and including mental health in the basket of indicators, because I think for a lot of us, that's now emerging as a really top-tier issue.
Great. Final question, Nepal.
Amit spoke about human development indicators with futuristic outlook. They certainly seem to be very, tremendous improvement over the ones we have here. You talked about also human capital development barriers. Are you thinking of some of the more prominent and important ones so that intervening them would bring about a lot of changes? Brilliant. Here I was kind of thinking of bellwether barriers that you should pay particular attention to.
Look, fantastic questions. I think they're all for Amit, so I'll ask him to answer them. And if we have time, I'll bring in the other 2 panelists, but it may be that the Minister arrives whilst Amit's answering. So, Amit, over to you.
Thank you, and thank you very much for all the questions. I think when we are talking about linking sectoral programs, what we are saying is that that silos that every ministry, and I'm not just talking about ministry because this happens in our own organizations, those should be broken down. So if you're addressing a problem, as I was giving the example of stunting, don't just look at the Ministry of Health to address that issue. Stunting involves many issues and many challenges. It is to do with sort of education, early childhood education and simulation. It has to do with giving the family adequate resources, poor families adequate resources, or some kind of social protection to enable them to access programs. It has to do with clean water and sanitation and other aspects. So if these ministries can actually start working together, rather than just seeing things in silos, I think we can really make big differences and solve problems in a much more effective manner. So that is what I meant by sort of having a whole of government or a sectoral approach to those issues. On your question, sir, on the efficiency of spending, I think that's critical. And I think there was a couple of questions on that, because this is what we are trying to do right now. Spending is not an aspect of the human capital index. But for all the early adopter countries, one of the things, we're trying to see countries, there are 2 or 3 sets of countries. One is those which don't have adequate resources to invest in human capital, and so they need help and they need assistance, thank you so much, from donors or other partners to actually increase the level of resources going into them. There's another set of countries which is investing a lot in human capital, but actually not achieving any results. And I think that's kind of one of the sets of things that we're going to be pushing and working with our 28 countries to look at is, are the resources that you're putting into the system, are they used efficiently? Are they used in a way which is actually beneficial and having an impact on the ground, or you're just putting money into the system and not really getting an impact out of it? So that's going to be a very important aspect of what we're trying to do as part of this. And we're going to do a lot of public expenditure reviews, and related issues are going to be part of what we're going to do in the future. And so that was, and thank you for your call out on mental health. The World Bank is also doing some work on that as we speak. In your question on Nepal, sort of what are the types of interventions, and what we're trying to do right now is to develop some typology as well as a paper on what are some of the good practice interventions and areas where if we intervene, we'll get a much larger bang for our buck. And in this kind of, this will be continuously built up over time, but over the next few weeks, we'll come out with the first version of this. So I think your next speaker is here. So
Amit, that was amazing. I think we managed in 25 minutes to cover a lot of ground, and thank you to everyone for their discipline, and particularly our speakers.
Thank you very much.
And I think at this point, I'm going to hand the chair back to Jeremy Lefroy, who will be introducing the Minister. But thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shall I go?
Mr. Lefroy is coming here. Mr. Lefroy is here. Parliamentary colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great pleasure to welcome Her Excellency Sri Mulyani Indrawati, who's the Minister of Finance for Indonesia. Minister, thank you so much for giving up your time. And earlier this morning, we stood in a minute's silence to remember those who've been affected, the victims of the tragedies in Indonesia recently. And we would ask you, as we did to your ministerial colleague this morning, just to accept our condolences and sympathy and to pass them on to His Excellency the President and to all the people of Indonesia. I know that in my country, and indeed many countries represented here, in fact all countries represented here, we feel that very sincerely, and we show we are in great solidarity with Indonesia at this time. Thank you very much for giving up your time to address us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, very good afternoon to all of you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I would like to thank the Parliamentary Forum for team as well as the government of Indonesia, who's working very hard in order for us to be able to recover the livelihood as well as all the social, economic, and as well as all the infrastructure in the affected area. This morning, in fact, I was accompanying Managing Director IMF to visit Lombok. This is the first area hit by the earthquake, and then we also have another one which is bigger combined with tsunami in Palu. So thank you so much for your support, and I also would like to express my appreciation that the fact that you are all coming down here in Indonesia to attend the Parliamentary Forum within the IMF World Bank annual meeting is an expression of confidence for all of you to us, the government of Indonesia and the people of Indonesia, that we are strong enough, resilient enough, that we are going to be able to rebuild and recover the livelihood of the people. So this occasion I was asked to talk about the issue related to the investment in human capital, a topic which is really very dear to my heart, is the highest priority of our government. Our president in many occasions always put the human capital and how we can develop human capital as the highest priority on our development. But before I touch that, let me update you with the recent economic development, because many governments in the world, they have and their ability to continue support the development and investing in human capital is certainly always affected by the economic development. If you look at the global economy, we certainly have quite some concern about what is happening, especially in 2018. On the one hand, we are all have the commitment, which is already put in a communication by all international community, what we call it the Sustainable Development Goals. This is the goals which is outlined by all international community, that we are all together can share prosperity, and we are all will do using all the instrument policy in order for us to be able to share prosperity, to continue making progress together. After we achieve MDG, then maybe some indicator has not been achieved, but after that, we, international community, also agree that we need to continue to commit together to share prosperity through the Sustainable Development Goal. So this is a very optimistic, considering that this has just been announced in 2015. That was just after a couple of years after global financial crisis, 2008-2009. Since then, I think the current situation providing us with quite a lot of reflection that we really need to make sure that globally, all country is going to continue commit to achieve progress together, not some progress or a certain progress at the cost of other. And this is something which is very critical to all of us to continue to voice that. And the parliamentary today, in this high-level parliamentary meeting, I would like to ask you all to become a voice of solidarity, collaboration, just like what you just expressed to us. Indonesia, when we hit by a certain disaster, you are all expressing your support. I think we are all, this kind of feeling of mutual and supporting each other is something that is very valuable at this very moment. Global economic environment is challenging, especially for emerging and developing countries because of the new normal, the higher interest rate, capital outflow, as well as trade policy, which is becoming quite a challenging environment for many countries who already make a progress through globalization, but for others who try to follow but now facing with the difficulties. If we talk about the human capital, before 2008-2009 financial crisis globally, developing countries actually has been experiencing a rapid acceleration in labor productivity growth. In contrast, the average productivity growth in advanced countries has been on a long-term downward trend. But in recent years, if you look at the figures after global financial crisis 2008-2009, productivity in many developing countries has been actually declining. And this is something that we really need to look in a very careful and critical way. Because without improvement in the human capital and labor productivity in developing countries, it is becoming even more challenging for developing countries to converge and to achieve a progress in their economic development closer to the advanced country. So we should look at this issue and ask what is the longer-term structural issue underpinning this labor productivity slowdown in many developing countries. We all know that human capital is a key in reducing poverty and addressing inequality. A lot of global evidence shows that human capital is a key factor that drives economies around the world. And realizing this condition in recent decades, governments around the globe made valuable investment in human capital. So recognizing that human capital is important, I think more or less is already spread all over the world. And many governments, at least in the political rhetoric, they say that I need to address the issue of human capital. And the question more on how we are going to do it, rather than just recognizing the issue. First, I think the most important aspect of human capital is the health. Health factors is critical, and it is affecting the quality of human capital. As of now, in the statistic, 400 million people still lack access to essential health services globally, and 100 million people each year fall into poverty as a result of health-related expenses. Governments need to put extra effort on the health services to ensure that people can get the right nutrition, can get the services, health services to prevent them to fall into poverty. Malnutrition is one of the world's most serious problem. At least in this case, something that we really need to address. And we know now that malnutrition, especially at the very early stage of life, can create a permanent damage. And that create also stunting that will destroying the future of those persons. So if country able to address this issue of stunting and malnutrition at the very early age of the baby, then the country average economy can actually have 7% greater GDP per capita. So it's a huge benefit, but sometimes really need the right investment and intervention at the very early stage. The cost of investment definitely far outweighs the gains, but we today still see 150 million children remain stunted worldwide. In Indonesia, we also recognize this serious problem, and that's why the government is doing serious program to address that. The second aspect of human capital is certainly education. Education is important for developing human capital, cognitive skill of the population, rather than just school attainment, are powerfully related to individual learning, to the distribution of income, and most importantly, to economic growth. Millions and millions of children are unable to understand even simple sentences or to do a simple arithmetic even after having been in primary school for a few years. This indicates there is a problem in the existing educational system that can lead to a learning crisis. The crisis is a serious economic issue that can be solved with attention to the quality of education and better management of education system. A good quality and better management of education system can create a potential human capital that foster more innovation and positively impact the economy. And I'm glad the World Bank is paying attention a lot in this area that can help many member countries. In concert with education and health, one of the government's tools in supporting human capital investment has been adopted in many developing countries, that is through social protection. Social protection can play an important role in poverty reduction and making growth inclusive of the poor. With well-managed social protection program, people can definitely improve access to education and health. So healthy and educated people will have a better chance to compete in digital economy. Today, the nature of work is changing and shifting in line with technological advancement. The working environment needs to provide an adequate opportunity for workers to grow and reskill. A lot of study has already predicting that digital economy is going to destroy a lot of jobs, especially the manual, repetitive job. And this is the challenge for many policymakers all over the world, not only in advanced countries, but also in many developing countries. So workers have to be equipped with qualified, relevant, and useful education and skill. In the future, productivity will no longer calculated from the perspiration, but mostly through inspiration. In this regard, government have to provide comprehensive educational system and provide equal education opportunity by making education affordable for everyone. The government should also develop vocational education and training program to respond to changes occurring in labor market and get workforce to be ready for the job of tomorrow. These government efforts should be supported by the business community and educational institution. Another aspect in this human capital is gender equality, which is already being discussed in many international fora, but we have to admit that progress is still need to be improved. According to the World Bank study released in 2018, the loss in human capital wealth due to gender inequality is estimated at 160.2 trillion US dollar. That's huge figures. This is about twice the value of global GDP. In other words, human capital wealth could increase by 21.7% globally and total wealth by 14% when gender parity in earning can be established. Human capital investment is the foundation of prosperity and a key driver of high income growth. So unleashing the human potential is a force multiplier that creates limitless potential. So let me turn to the current Indonesian situation, which is related to human capital. According to the World Economic Forum 2017, Indonesia Global Human Development Index ranking is improved on the back of progress in education. Indonesia ranked today is 65th out of 130. In 2016, our ranks is 72. So it is an improvement. But this is not make us satisfied with what we achieve. In our region, if you look at our close neighbor, Singapore, is always in the top rank, 11th. Malaysia in the 33rd, and Vietnam is even in 64. So for Indonesia to be in this region and having a neighboring country who always achieve better is a good pressure for the government to deliver better. And that's why Indonesia focusing more and more our policy on improvement in our education. The government allocated 20% according to our constitution of our budget for education program. And this is something which is already politically, we have a commitment and translated into budget. What is the challenge for Indonesia is how we can make this 20% commitment of our budget to have a better result in the education. And that have something to do with all the program. The government has already launched compulsory education program for 9 years. And we also provide a poor student with Kartu Indonesia Pintar, that is the smart Indonesian card, so that they are not quick to be dropped out and then cannot be then catching up with the prosperity. We also, given that the importance of the school, the government provide a grant money for the school so that they are going to be able to operate with this assistance program. The goals of this program to make education more inclusive. We are not left behind the student coming from the poor family. But Indonesia have to admit that in terms of quality of curriculum and learning, we need to learn more from those who already have a better result. On a health area, the government also allocated 5% of our total budget for healthcare program. This being actually focused for providing children under 5 years that is actually suffering from stunting. And this is one of the areas that now we want to make sure that we are going to make a progress. This is not just the responsibility of Minister of Health. So dealing with stunting, we even have to have a cross-ministerial cooperation as well as local government, including in this case Minister of Public Work for the clean water as well as local government who actually responsible for the primary health care. On a social program, the Indonesia implement the national social security system in health sector to provide comprehensive social protection. In 2016, the number of beneficiaries was around 172 million people, or 66.4% of the population. Our program is the largest in the world. Social protection, in this case, expanded to cover education, welfare, as well as employment sector. On gender equality and equity, this is already integrated within Indonesian development agenda. In Ministry of Finance, my own ministry in this case launched an initiative that is called a gender responsive budget. We want to address opportunity for women, both in political and executive branches. In the political branch, equal representation between man and woman in the parliament is going to be and continue to be promoted. On our last parliamentary election, 2014, The result is quite encouraging. There was a prerequisite of 30% woman representation on the list of parliamentary candidates. And today, the result is only almost more slightly above than half, that is 17.1%. So we still need to catch up, although there is a mandatory for the woman representation in a political party. We also pay attention on the change on the technology, and that's why many of our education is going to be updated with this new challenge. So I would like to close by saying that on this human capital, the global coordination and partnership is very, very important. So I'm glad that the parliamentary meeting today, the high level during the annual meeting, is discussing the human capital as one of the issues which is very critical, not only for one country, but also for the world. As a middle-income country, Indonesia stands ready to contribute to the partnership by sharing our valuable experience. What is our challenge? Because I believe that all countries can learn not only from the success, but sometimes from the failure, so that we can avoid. I do hope that the partnership through South-South and Triangular Cooperation Program that we, in this case Indonesia, promoting, is going to be able to achieve a better result of coordination globally. Thank you very much. And I would like to congratulate Morocco as a host for the annual meeting in 2021. Congratulations. Thank you so much for all your attention.
Minister, thank you very much indeed for sparing your time today and for your thoughts. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And just looking at my colleagues, is there an opportunity for a photograph with everybody?
Sure. Sure.
There is an opportunity with you?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So if anybody who would like to come for a photograph with the Minister. I know we were going to do one.
Yes, that's your thank you. Oh, from Malaysia. Okay. How should we arrange pictures?
The photographers are coming with their ladders and so on.
From Tunisia. Oh, I visited last time. Yeah. Oh, very nice. Okay. From Jordan. Okay. Let's start with one. You can do the. Okay, that's another one right there. Yeah, that's another one right there.
Selamat sore. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Om Swastiastu. Salam sejahtera buat kita semua. Rekan-rekan media, hari ini kita akan briefing untuk acara rangkaian yang sudah dimulai dari sejak pagi, bahkan kemarin juga sudah ada beberapa acara. Di hadapan kita sudah ada Bapak Luhut Binsar Panjaitan, Menteri Koordinator Kemaritiman dan juga Ketua Panitia Nasional untuk acara annual meeting dan IMF dan World Bank tahun ini. Ada juga Pak Gubernur Bank Indonesia, Bapak Peri Warjio. Ada juga bersama kita Pak Rudiantara, Menteri Komunikasi dan Informatika, dan nanti akan menyusul Ibu Menteri Keuangan, Ibu Sri Mulyani yang masih ada di acara lain. Saya kira saya tidak akan berpanjang-panjang. Pak Luhut akan menyampaikan beberapa hal menyangkut penyelenggaraan acara annual meeting tahun ini, baik yang terkait dengan isu-isu yang sedang ramai di luar maupun hal-hal yang akan berjalan dalam 6 hari ke depan. Silakan Pak Luhut.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Teman-teman media yang saya hormati, kita sudah masuk IMF World Bank di Bali. Hari ini saya kira kita sama tahu parliamentary forum sudah mulai jalan, kita lihat bagus. Saya ingin juga sedikit beri gambar, nanti saya kira Pak Peri akan lebih paham betul karena beliau ini kerjanya itu. Sebenarnya IMF ini saya juga baru tahu terus terang aja, karena saya setelah jadi ketua jadi belajar. IMF World Bank itu sebenarnya kan ada mainannya masing-masing. Ya, tadi di IMF ini bicara soal keuangan, ini bicara tadi di mana namanya ini di World Bank bicara human capital, terus kemudian ada acara masing-masing. Itu satu masalah. Tapi masalah yang lebih besar, yang paling sebenarnya hebat adalah yang di luar itu. Yang pertemuan yang mungkin ada 2.500 temuan atau ya plus minus segitu, yang berbicara macam-macam. Karena apa? Semua pelaku-pelaku atau institusi keuangan dunia hadir di sini sekarang. Dan mereka bikin pertemuan di luar daripada pertemuan IMF ini. Jadi sudah mulai ada pertemuan mulai besok itu antara misalnya yang World Bank, Bank of America melakukan seminar di Hotel Mulia. Anda bisa lihat nanti macam-macam itu. Nah, ada blended finance besok mulai, Trihita Karana, ada lagi nanti macam-macam semua. Ada Islamic Development Bank juga main, programnya sendiri-sendiri semua itu. Jadi ini supaya kita ketahui. Nah, jadi kalau orang bilang IMF itu mewah, ya nggak ada yang mewah-mewahan ya. Anda lihat kita begini-gini, ada yang bilang mobil mewah. Tadi saya kritik TV One tadi. Jangan bikin berita-berita yang nggak benar juga, jangan belajar kita bohong-bohong. Mobil itu tahun 2013, Mercedes E200 dan 2015 kita sewa itu mobil. Sewa tadinya Pak Susi bilang mau beli Camry, mau sewa Camry. Nggak dapat Camry 400 biji. Ya kita sewa lah rame-rame dari segala macam penjuru langit Indonesia ini. Dapatlah 400 itu. Jadi saya suruh pakai mobil dinas saja nggak mau lagi itu barang itu sebenarnya. Tapi karena sama uniform, ya kita kasihlah E200. Jadi saya mohon teman-teman juga jangan membuat kita susah. Jadi mendowngrade negeri kita sendiri, nggak elok itu. Jadi saya tadi kritik gitu. Yang ini yang hadir, ya yang kita dapat register 34.223. Ya per hari ini kita udah tutup, nggak mau lagi. Itu asing MTS, yang MTS ke IMF World Bank itu mendaftar 14.003. Kita tidak hitung keluarganya, tapi tadi dibilang Pak Susi di hotel-hotel banyak yang datang dengan anak istrinya. Ya biar aja dia datangkan, dia bayar sendiri. Jadi kalau ada orang bilang kita bayarin, nggak ada yang kita bayarin itu. Ya, dia bayar sendiri, dia mau sewa mobil, dia sewa mobil sendiri. Kemudian IPT atau Panitia Nasional itu yang daftar 20.220. Itu banyak bankers, pengusaha, segala macam. Kenapa? Dia cari partner nanti nih, ketemu dengan orang-orang yang dari mana namanya ini, dari luar ini, bankers tadi. Ada nanti datang dari BlackRock, ada nanti Prudential, ada nanti pension fund, ada macam-macam itu. Itu pertemuan dan itu kita fasilitasi. Sehingga itu nanti akan terjadi banyak deal-deal ekonomi di sini. Ada banyak akan menguntungkan kita. Langsung ataupun tidak langsung. Kemudian kalau kita lihat tadi CSO tadi mengenai NGOs, itu ada pertemuannya di sini. Internasional, kita pun ada. Jadi itu juga tadi banyak. Jadi jangan tadi lihat hanya IMF, World Bank aja yang saya katakan, banyak sampingannya. Nah, sekarang yang sangat suka dibikin sensitif mengenai pendanaan. Pendanaan ini APBN, yang ada APBN, kita bicara pagu anggaran itu dialokasikan APBN 2017-2018, tepatnya 855,6 miliar rupiah untuk penyelenggaraan acara Annual Meeting 2018. Itu yang dialokasikan. Saya sebagai ketua, saya ini sebagai ketua nih, itu sampai hari ini kita menggunakan itu kira-kira 566 miliar. Yang sudah kita bayarkan itu 192,1 miliar. Nanti ada pertambahan lagi dari situ. Jadi angka ini kita betul-betul hemat, yang nggak perlu. Jadi saya ulangi pada teman-teman sekalian, semua hotel ini dibayar oleh yang peserta. Lah kalau venue-nya kan, masa dia yang nyewa pula? Ya kita yang sewain, yang ngatur, bikin sound system ini semua kita. Kemudian apa yang kita buat untuk mendukungin, tanpa kita sadarin, kita tuh membuat untung Republik ini dengan memperbaikin pariwisata. Pada trade war sekarang ini justru pariwisata salah satu yang bisa membantu ekonomi kita. Kita perbaikinlah tuh seperti apron. Kita percepat prosesnya. Sehingga sekarang jumlah turis ke Bali bisa naik 1,2 juta per tahun. Sehingga occupancy rate hotel akibatnya ini akan naik dari 60-70% menjadi 70 ke 80%. Ini kan bagus untuk turis. Dan kemudian kita perbaiki juga infrastruktur lain, seperti di Banyuwangi, lapangan terbangnya kita perbaikin. Kemudian kita perbaiki di kampung saya Danau Toba, lapangan terbang, sehingga naik di sana 350%. Anda cek aja nanti sendiri sana, dampaknya itu. Begitu juga di Banyuwangi naik sampai. Memang itu betul akan memberikan support kepada IMF World Bank untuk orang mau melakukan turis ke sana. Tapi itu nggak ada urusan kaitan langsung ke sini. Itu untuk long term, seperti Pak SBY lah, pemerintahan yang lalu. Dia bikin toll road yang si tol ini. Kan bagus. Sekarang kita pakai. Coba kalau nggak ada si tol itu. Underpass ini yang kita buat. Underpass kita buat ini 40%, traffic di situ kurang. Jadi bisa lebih lancar. Jadi itu sebenarnya angka ini. Jadi saya mohon, kita jangan memberikan berita-berita kalau tidak tahu. Terutama tokoh-tokoh itu yang merasa dirinya jadi tokoh. Saya penanggung jawab. Ya, saya penanggung jawab. Kalau dia datang ke saya. Udah saya telepon juga sih. Ya mudah-mudahan dia dengarin omongan saya juga. Saya bilang, Anda datang ke saya tunjukin angkanya gitu. Nggak akan lama saya mencuri untuk ini. Ada lagi Pak Susi di sini. Tim kami hebat. Gubernur BI lagi di sini, orang kayak ginian. Ibu Ani lagi punya reputasi. Ada Pak Anu lagi di sini, Pak Rudi. Mana kita mau main-main? Emang udah gila kita, Pak? Iyalah, enggak lah, kita masih waras kok. Kecuali yang ngomong nggak waras kali. Jadi saya titip, saya pada Anda yang lebih muda, jangan bohong. Nanti bohong kamu kena anu lagi, operasi lagi. Ya. Kok pada ketawa saya hanya bilang operasi aja kok. Saya nggak bilang apa-apa kok. Nah, apa yang dibicarakan agenda-agenda itu? Ada kita bicara tadi human capital. Nah, human capital development index ini, itu akan keluar nanti di sini. Itu menjadi acuan dunia. Nama Indonesia lagi, promosi Indonesia lagi. Kan bagus. Yang salah di mana? Lah kita jadi pusat dunia, semua tokoh-tokoh 189 negara itu, semua central banknya datang. Gubernur central bank. Ini Pak Peri ini temannya di seluruh dunia datang. Ya memang ada juga sih pemerintah yang ya ekonominya juga ya.
LDC.
Hah?
LDC, Less Developed Countries.
Oh, Less Development Country itu Pak Anu bilang. Tapi yang lain-lain, ini Central Bank Amerika datang. Ya, Menteri Keuangan Amerika datang. Pakai pesawat negara dia sendiri. Jadi semua tokoh-tokoh itu datang. Kemudian kalau lihat lagi digital economy, nanti Bali Fintech Agenda, itu 12 prinsipal fintech akan ditelurkan di sini. Itu akan membuat ekonomi dunia ini atau ekonomi Indonesia itu menjadi model, jadi contoh. Sehingga di Indonesia akan kurang korupsi, karena akan transaksi itu akan semua online. Sehingga tidak makin kurang nanti transaksi-transaksi yang face to face. Akan bagus itu. Karena kita tuan rumah, kita punya say pasti. Kita juga kedepankan ekonomi dan keuangan syariah. Kita kalah dengan Jerman itu loh, dengan Inggris tuh. Sekarang kita dorong. Nah lebih daripada itu pemerintah cerdik lagi. Semua negara-negara OKI tanggal 15 akan dibawa ke Lombok. Ketemu di sana. Apa yang mau diomongin? Salah satu ekonomi syariah tadi. Lah kalau ngumpulin lagi semua anggota OKI khusus, kan repot. Sekarang kita ambil nilai tambah lagi. Lah ini kok negara Indonesia itu kok mau jadi kerdil gitu loh. Ya. Kemudian kalau kita lihat yang tadi itu ada Islamic Development Bank Seminar, Islamic Finance Roundtable, Islamic Finance Debate, Halal Tourism, semua dibicarakan agenda di sini. Jadi jangan dipikirin IMF itu bagian daripada ini. Kemudian tadi sudah saya singgung blended finance. Apa di blended finance dibicarakan? Itu tadi, bagaimana program replanting tadi untuk smallholders dari kelapa sawit, kelapa sawit, kemudian tadi coklat, kopi dan seterusnya. Nanti di blended finance ada 28 perjanjian yang akan ditandatanganin. Nilainya beberapa miliar dolar. Dan itu menjadi model baru lagi untuk pendanaan di luar APBN. Jadi kita jangan hanya selama ini pakai gaya lamanya semua ngacu pada APBN. Sekarang punya alternatif pendanaan. Itu saya pikir yang saya bisa katakan, dan kalau Anda lihat semua di sini mengenai kendaraan saya sudah jelaskan. Nah, jumlah pekerja lokal akibatnya ini itu ada 20.000 orang. 20.000 orang. Tadi kalau untuk ekonomi Bali dapat 32.700 lapangan kerja yang disetujui dari Bappenas. Ada 400 orang liaison kita, anak-anak muda yang kita seleksi dari beberapa ratus ribu yang mendaftar. Nah itu anak-anak muda ini sekarang pembelajaran juga bagaimana mereka bekerja di sini. Ada 2.000 pekerja seni dan kita siapkan ada 33 tourist destination di Bali dan seluruhnya total Indonesia ada 60 tourist destination. Nah tadi manfaat ekonomi saya kira sudah saya jelaskan, sangat banyak yang langsung dan tidak langsung. Jadi saya pikir kalau ada yang masih mau tanya nanti setelah Pak Ano bicara dan kemudian Pak Rudi silakan. Tapi itu kira-kira, mudah-mudahan Anda teman-teman semua paham maksud kita ini. Sekali lagi, kalau bernegara itu tidak bisa kita main potong-potong. Tentu ada kontinuitas yang perlu kita perhatikan. Saya kirakan Pak Gubernur.
Siap. Silakan Pak Gubernur untuk menambahi keterangan Pak Luhut.
Terima kasih yang kami hormati Pak Luhut, Menko Maritim dan sekaligus Ketua Panas, Pak Rudiantara, Menko Mifu dan kawan-kawan sekalian. Selamat sore, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Kawan-kawan yang akan kita lihat dan kita terlibat di dalam event dari besok sampai kemudian hari Senin yang akan datang, itu ada 2 kelompok event ya. Yang satu adalah yang kita sebut kelompok event yang terkait dengan bidang keuangan. Yang satu kelompok yang terkait dengan bidang pembangunan. Kalau bidang keuangan itu terkait dengan IMF, bank-bank sentral, para investor-investor keuangan dari seluruh dunia yang akan datang, di samping terlibat dalam suatu meeting juga ada kegiatan-kegiatan yang mereka itu menggunakan event ini tidak hanya ketemu dengan para otoritas, tapi juga melakukan deal-deal bisnis terkait dengan investasi. Saya akan menjelaskan event-event yang terkait dengan bidang keuangan. Nanti Ibu Menteri Keuangan akan menjelaskan event-event yang terkait dengan bidang pembangunan, yaitu yang terkait dengan Bank Dunia, kemudian dunia bisnis maupun yang lain. Kalau di bidang keuangan, jumlah eventnya ya, ini jumlah eventnya, itu ada 10 main meeting, pertemuan pokok ya, itu terkait dengan sidang G20, sidang IMF, kemudian juga sejumlah sidang-sidang yang lain yang kita sebut adalah 10 main meeting. Ada 107 side event. Side event itu adalah pertemuan para pelaku dunia keuangan, apakah dalam bentuk workshop, seminar, kemudian juga pertemuan para investor dan juga sejumlah meeting-meeting yang juga berkaitan juga dengan Bank Sentral, IMF. Kemudian ada 46 paralel event. Paralel event itu adalah event yang terkait juga dengan sejumlah sektor swasta maupun juga sejumlah organisasi internasional maupun yang lain. Itu adalah 10 main meeting, 107 side event, 46 paralel event. Ini di luar bilateral meeting ya. Pilar meeting ada bank sentral dengan dunia pelaku keuangan atau antar dunia pelaku keuangan. Ini banyak sekali meeting yang ada di Bali ini sebelum, sesaat maupun sesudah IMF World Bank Annual Meeting ini. Sehingga seperti disampaikan oleh Pak Luhut tadi, ini adalah event yang betul-betul seluruh dunia bertemu, membahas masalah-masalah global maupun juga bertemu dengan para pelaku yang lain maupun dengan bank sentral maupun Kementerian Keuangan, sehingga ini betul-betul menjadi suatu event yang sangat besar. Itu yang pertama. Yang kedua, kalau di bidang keuangan itu ada yang untuk kepentingan Indonesia itu ada 4 aspek utama ya. 4 aspek utama yang memang kita akan lebih banyak menyuarakan dan memperjuangkan untuk kepentingan ekonomi Indonesia. Yang pertama adalah bagaimana kita menyuarakan agar terjadi suatu penguatan, koordinasi, dan harmonisasi kebijakan antar negara untuk bagaimana secara bersama memulihkan ekonomi global dan mengatasi sejumlah risiko maupun ketidakpastian global ini. Ini terkait bagaimana agar pertumbuhan ekonomi dunia tidak hanya didukung oleh Amerika tapi juga oleh negara-negara lain, termasuk khususnya adalah negara-negara emerging market. Termasuk juga bagaimana normalisasi kebijakan moneter, termasuk kenaikan suku bunga Amerika maupun juga negara lain. Termasuk juga akan dibicarakan mengenai ketegangan perdagangan di berbagai negara. Kita akan menyuarakan kepentingan-kepentingan Indonesia dalam konteks seperti ini agar memang pemulihan ekonomi global itu bisa lebih seimbang, kenaikan suku bunga di negara maju itu bisa lebih jelas arahnya, maupun juga ada kemajuan dalam resolusi atau penyelesaian mengenai ketegangan perdagangan antar negara. Ini yang isu yang pertama. Nanti saya akan jelaskan event-event ini terjadi di mana. Yang kedua adalah kepentingan ekonomi Indonesia ini bagaimana lebih banyak kita bisa memperluas pembiayaan dari infrastruktur kita. Kita melihat selama hampir 5 tahun ini progres dari infrastruktur di Indonesia itu sangat-sangat besar dan sangat-sangat cepat. Termasuk yang memang dipuji oleh banyak negara pembangunan infrastruktur ini. Ini menjadi juga isu yang akan kita angkat dan kemudian kita perjuangkan agar memang pembiayaan dari infrastruktur ini tidak hanya dibiayai dari APBN, tidak hanya dibiayai oleh BUMN, tapi juga lebih banyak dibiayai oleh swasta. Itu baik dalam bentuk apakah project bond maupun aspek-aspek lain yang instrumen-instrumen lain, maupun juga ada penanaman modal untuk pembiayaan infrastruktur ini. Yang ketiga adalah bagaimana Indonesia itu bisa memanfaatkan ekonomi dan keuangan digital untuk kemajuan ekonomi Indonesia. Khususnya bagaimana ekonomi keuangan digital itu bisa memperluas dan meningkatkan pengembangan untuk UMKM. Bagaimana bisa untuk fintech maupun juga memperluas startup yang lain. Yang antara lain tadi disampaikan oleh Pak Menko terkait dengan Bali Fintech Agenda. Termasuk juga di sini adalah kalau terkait dengan bank sentral, pengaruhnya terhadap sistem pembayaran, operasi bank sentral maupun juga kerjasama antar negara. Isu yang keempat adalah ekonomi dan keuangan syariah. Kita ketahui ekonomi dan keuangan syariah itu sudah menjadi suatu model bisnis global. Banyak negara yang sudah mengembangkan, apakah muslim atau non-muslim, dan itu akan semakin dikembangkan. Isu yang pertama yang terkait dengan koordinasi kebijakan ekonomi global itu ada 25 event. Nanti saya akan jelaskan beberapa event yang kawan-kawan bisa mengikuti. Sementara yang terkait dengan pembiayaan infrastruktur itu ada 9 event. Untuk digital ekonomi itu ada 12 event. Sementara untuk ekonomi dan keuangan syariah itu ada 5 event. Itu adalah beberapa event yang kawan-kawan mungkin bisa nanti ikut meliput dan banyak kemudian hal-hal yang akan dibahas di situ. Saya mulai yang pertama beberapa event yang bisa kawan-kawan nanti dari hari ke hari nanti tim media kami termasuk kita semua juga akan menyampaikan setelah sejumlah event kita juga akan memberikan briefing singkat beberapa event-event ini apa yang dibahas, apa simpulannya. Saya akan memberikan prelude aja kapan-kapan tanggal-tanggal berapa event-event ini akan dilakukan. Terkait mengenai koordinasi kebijakan ekonomi global, itu akan mulai tanggal 9 dan 10. Tanggal 10 itu akan ada seminar kerjasama antara Bank Indonesia dengan Fed Amerika, yaitu yang berjudul bagaimana pengaruh dari perubahan ekonomi dan moneter Amerika terhadap negara-negara berkembang dan bagaimana respon kebijakan. Itu ada joint conference antara Fed dengan Bank Indonesia, di mana memang itu banyak kita diskusikan hal-hal yang terkait dengan global tadi. Di samping itu juga ada kerjasama antara Indonesia Bureau of Economic Research dengan Asia Bureau of Economic Research pada tanggal 10 itu bagaimana mengangkat ekonomi Asia ini ketahanannya terhadap ekonomi global. Kemudian tanggal 11, 12 itu ada sejumlah seminar yang diadakan oleh Merrill Lynch, kemudian Bretton Woods, Citibank, HSBC maupun yang lain juga membahas masalah ekonomi global tadi. Nah, pembahasan resminya memang akan dilakukan melalui G20 di tanggal 12, kemudian disambung juga dengan IMF 12 dan 13, series dari pertemuan 12, 13 itu akan titik puncaknya di mana ada pertemuan G20 dan IMF. Tanggal 14 itu juga akan bicara masalah koordinasi kebijakan globalnya di kelompok G30. Sementara itu kalau di 13 juga ada pembahasan mengenai Project Option Panel di 13. Jadi selama seminggu ke depan itu banyak sekali event-event yang akan membicarakan bagaimana ekonomi global ke depan, bagaimana kita akan mengangkat, didebatkan koordinasi kebijakan moneter maupun kebijakan global ini untuk bisa ekonomi global yang lebih baik, kemudian ketidakpastian ekonomi global itu bisa dikurangi. Mengenai pembiayaan infrastruktur yang tadi saya sampaikan, ada 9 event antara lain besok itu sudah akan ada forum pembiayaan yang diprakarasai oleh Bank Indonesia, Kementerian Keuangan, Menko, KPPIP maupun Kementerian BUMN yang kita sebut Forum Financing Infrastruktur. Dengan judul New Paradigm in Infrastructure Financing, di mana seperti tadi Indonesia itu progres dari infrastrukturnya sangat cepat. Lah itu banyak nanti besok akan ada banyak pertemuan dari CEO maupun yang lain. Setelah itu juga ada sejumlah event-event antara IMF dengan Asia, BKPM dengan lembaga keuangan, kemudian juga dengan ADB maupun lain yang semuanya membahas termasuk yang tadi mengenai blended finance yang akan dilakukan di tanggal 10. Kemudian mengenai digital ekonomi dan keuangan itu juga tanggal 10 akan ada joint conference antara Fed New York dengan Bank Indonesia mengenai ekonomi keuangan digital, pengaruhnya terhadap bank sentral maupun juga terhadap cyber security and risk. Bali Fintech Agenda itu akan dibahas di tanggal 11 dan kemudian ada sejumlah series pertemuan-pertemuan mengenai ekonomi dan keuangan digital termasuk yang tanggal 12 itu yang diprakarsai oleh OJK Fintech Talks. Untuk syariah itu akan dilakukan di 13 di tanggal 10 dan 14. 10 itu adalah World Bank Islamic Finance Roundtable. Di 14 itu kerjasama Bank Indonesia dengan IDB International Islamic Seminar, di mana di situ akan ditandatangani, akan disepakati core principle mengenai wakaf. Pengelolaan wakaf. Mengenai zakat sudah disepakati, mengenai wakaf akan disepakati ini dan juga sejumlah instrumen keuangan untuk wakaf. Jadi itu sebagai prelude yang akan event-event dari besok, lusa dan sampai dengan tanggal 15 yang akan terus kita lakukan. Kawan-kawan media tentu saja sudah ada event-event ini, silahkan event-event yang mana yang akan diliput. Tapi kami dari pemerintah maupun juga tim media kami, apakah di media corner atau di event-event yang Anda hadiri, Anda liput, tentu saja kami akan juga memberikan keterangan-keterangan mengenai apa-apa yang dibahas itu, simpulannya dan bagaimana manfaatnya untuk Indonesia. Sebagai simpulan, tadi disampaikan oleh Pak Menko bahwa event IMF dan World Bank ini merupakan event yang sangat penting di dunia, dan Indonesia merupakan negara terbesar ke-15 dan memang menjadi kebanggaan kita menghosting event ini. Dan banyak event yang dibahas di sini tidak hanya untuk bagaimana kita mengatasi permasalahan global, tapi juga banyak event yang akan bermanfaat bagi ekonomi Indonesia baik sekarang maupun ke depan. Barangkali mungkin beberapa poin yang dapat saya tambahkan demikian. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak Gubernur. Saya terima kasih juga kedatangannya Ibu Sri Mulyani, Menteri Keuangan, dan selanjutnya Pak Rudiantara. Saya kira tadi ada disebut soal digital ekonomi dan fintech. Pak Rudiantara juga akan ada event pertemuan dengan salah satu tokoh fintech dari Tiongkok. Saya kira bisa menjelaskan. Silakan Pak Rudi.
Terima kasih Mas Tommy, Pak Menko, Pak Gubernur, Bu Menteri Keuangan, teman-teman semua. Dari sisi substansi tadi sudah disampaikan banyak oleh Pak Gubernur. Digital ekonomi juga nanti tanggal 10 akan bicara kami dengan PwC ya. Bagaimana intinya adalah ini kayak semacam sneak preview gitu jadinya. Semua negara di dunia mengalami permasalahan Gini rasio. Dan kita believe dengan mendorong ekonomi digital itu akan menurunkan Gini rasio. Kenapa? Mengadres 3 permasalahan. Yang pertama adalah workforce digitization. Ya, di Indonesia itu terbukti dengan Gojek, dengan Tokopedia, dengan Bukalapak. Itu terbuka kesempatan kerja menggunakan digital. Kedua, economic sharing. Dan ketiga, kita dorong yang berkaitan dengan moneter maupun BI maupun OJK adalah financial inclusion, dan bagaimana kita meningkatkan inklusi keuangan. Itu sneak previewnya, detailnya nanti aja datang pada saatnya gitu. Saya mungkin akan update dari sisi sebagai penyelenggara. Jadi ini ada topi sebagai pembicara, topi sebagai penyelenggara, karena saya harus membuat teman-teman media ini nyaman. Yang kita sediakan di sini, di main campus ini, khususnya di Westin ya, dan BICC dan BNDC, itu kapasitasnya bandwidthnya 2 kali 20 GB. Untuk perbandingan saja, untuk di GBK sewaktu Asian Games itu 2 kali 50 GB. Jadi kurang lebih sekitar 40%. Karena apa? Karena di sini hanya sedikit di Westin dan di depan di BNDC. Akses point yang disediakan di sini di main campus ini ada 1.100. Untuk WiFi tadi saya tes di sini, sudah pakai WiFi belum? Semua. Password itu sudah tahu. Ya, Bali 2018, ya kan? Di sini speednya bergerak antara 72 sampai 144 megabits per second. Itu cukup bagus dengan jumlah katakanlah pengguna yang demikian padat. Untuk jurnalis khususnya orang yang Indonesia, itu disediakan di sebelah untuk Indonesia Communication Center, ICOM, di hotel sebelah. Karena di sini standarnya tidak diberi, mohon maaf, makan siang. Tapi kita kalau pengalaman kita pernah lakukan untuk Asia Afrika di Jakarta, kemudian juga konferensi OKI di Jakarta, ini berbeda. Kalau ini seluruh dunia, kalau di seluruh dunia standarnya MTS memang tidak menyediakan makan siang, tetapi tentu kita sediakan di sebelah, di hotel sebelah lah, untuk yang Indonesia gitu. Silakan tepuk tangan, nggak apa-apa. Saya doakan masuk surga, tapi jangan cepat-cepat Pak. Itu untuk juga untuk broadcaster, kita sediakan ada SNG di sebelah. Saya lihat metro di sini, tapi di sebelah lebih luas di tempat hotel sebelah. Secara umum gitu, dan jumlah jurnalis ini hanya catatan saja yang sudah daftar itu 1.390. Dari internasional 499, yang dari nasionalnya 891. Penutupan tanggal 13, jadi kita expect masih akan ada lagi jurnalis. Dulu sebelumnya diperkirakan ada 1.000 jurnalis, sekarang perkiraannya nanti sudah pasti melewati 1.500 kalau sampai dengan tanggal 15. Mungkin itu saja dari kami. Satu, ya. Karena tethering itu membuat interferensi, akan mengganggu layanan wifi secara keseluruhan. Tethering tahu kan, netein orang lain gitu kan gitu. Tapi bukan yang fisik, pakai ponsel gitu kan. Itu jangan lakukan. Terus kedua, betul Bang, itu bahasanya lebih gampang begitu Bang. Terus yang kedua, tolong cek laptop ya, karena banyak masih wartawan dari luar negeri terutama. Wartawannya masih agak jadul, dia pakai wifi-nya 2,4, padahal kita sudah 5,8 kapasitas besar. Jadi tolong cek 5,8. Kalau ada masalah, misalkan laptopnya masih jadul, jadi perusahaannya belum memberikan yang baru, nanti minta ke panitia, nanti kita sediakan dongle, ya, agar bisa running di 5,8. Ini bagian daripada pelayanan panitia. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih Pak Rudi. Ibu Menteri, ada dua isu yang sering rame di luar. Pertama soal anggapan bahwa di event ini Indonesia akan minta utang baru terhadap IMF, lagi rame. Yang kedua tentang terkait dengan tema bencana yang saya kira juga dibicarakan di event ini terkait dengan Disaster Risk Finance and Investment Program. Saya kira Bu Sri Mulyani bisa menjelaskan lebih lanjut. Silakan Bu.
Terima kasih. Nggak perlu dipus kan? Perlu dipus. Udah. Terima kasih. Mungkin sebelum pertanyaan 2 tadi, saya akan menyampaikan outline dari pertemuan IMF inovasi yang baru, bagaimana